Hey guys, what's up? It's Kay, and today we'll be looking at the robot Damashii Zaku sniper. This is Yonam Kirk's custom unit in the Gundam Unicorn OVA. And there's a funny story. Well, not really a funny story, but this release right here is kind of special to me because this was actually the very first robot Damashii figure that I got interested on, because many years back, when I was still collecting GFF and xenography figures, I didn't really have any interest at all on robot Damashii figures because they're just not really the same when it comes to quality if we compare to GFFs. Now, when they started the KA signature or the KA signature line, I saw this beautiful figure right here and I fell in love with it because the reason for this is this particular figure right here reminds me of xenography figures. And if some of you guys don't know, the xenography line is actually the alternative, or well, it's actually GFF's subline, I guess. It's pretty much the GFF line, but it's focusing on Zeon units, or the villains in the whole Gundam franchise. So anyway, this completely reminds me of a xenography figure, and I'm gonna tell you guys about that later before we end the video. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the boring ones first, just like what we normally do. We're gonna start with the accessories. Okay, so for accessories, this is pretty much what you're gonna get, and we're gonna check it out one by one. So for the hands, he only comes with a few pair. He comes with a different style of trigger finger hands. You get one open palm hand and one grabbing hand or holding hand. I think this is for those rods. And speaking of this, you got the rods. You actually get 3 of these. And this is actually, during the time that he was shooting from the sky. I think this is the one that's inside his rifle, kind of like this one. I know what I mean. So he opens up the rifle. And stick these in there, and that's what makes it fire. I'm not really sure. I'm not a Gundam mechanic or something, but yeah, it kind of worked like that in the anime or in the OVA. So you get 3 of these regular looking rods. Focus. Okay, you get 3 of the regular looking rods. You got the a little bit hot metal rods for the rifle, and you got the really hot metal rods. Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna touch that. All right, but yeah, so you get the really hot rod. You get one of these, and you get 3 of these. And then you have this one. I'm not really sure what this is, but at first I thought it was a mortar launcher of some sort, but I don't think so. I'm not too sure what's the use of these things. But pretty much you actually stick it on here in the backpack. There we go. Oh, and you see there's a peg there. Let's focus. There's a peg there, so I'm just gonna stick it here. So yeah, that's pretty much how it works. And here we have the backpack, and there's a socket there, and you'll just peg it in like the regular backpacks. You have the cable that connects the rifle to the generator or the backpack, and the last thing that he has is the sniper rifle. Now, okay, there's something I did on the rifle. It actually has a peg, but I removed it. I didn't really like it because in the anime, in the OVA, it didn't really have that peg going on. So I actually cut mine, and I haven't repainted it yet. So I actually removed it, and it looks better in my opinion. Oh, and just like what I normally do with my figures, I added brown lining on this one to make it look weathered. and so normally it doesn't have any lining at all. So I added panel lines, decals, and flat coat on the Zaku sniper. So that's his accessories. Okay, so so now that we have taken care of the accessories, we're gonna go ahead and proceed with the figure. Okay, so let's proceed with the figure. So there we go. So like what I mentioned, I added decals on here. Now I didn't put as much as I normally do, mainly because this thing comes with a white decal sheet, and all of his decals come in white. So as you can see, you can barely see the white decals that I added on the shoulder armor here and on the leg armor here. So I just thought it doesn't really make sense if I add more, if they're not really gonna see all that. So I just added the ones that you can normally see, which is the white one on the darker parts. Alright, so anyway, we're gonna start with the head. So the head is on a ball joint, so it can wiggle around. It cannot do the chicken, it's just gonna wiggle around. And the mono eye here, not sure if you can see it, but it can go up. Let me see if I can do it in front of the camera. Yep, it's on a hinge, so it can move up that far. So let's bring it back here, and I think you can put it side to side. Nope. Okay. All right. So so that's the head. It's on a ball joint, and for the arms, it can go 360. A little bit tight there. A little bit tight. And for the arms, it's over 90 degrees. That's a good bend right there. And then it has a bicep swivel below the shoulder, you can see there. The arm is on a ball hinge, so it can move up and down, and it can wiggle around. And what else? For the chest, it's on a ball joint as well, so unfortunately it doesn't have any ab crunch. It would be so much better if this guy had an ab crunch, so that the sniping poses could be more convincing. But so it's on a ball joint, so it can do the helicopter pose, or I'm not sure if that's a pose, but but it can go 360 no problem. And this thing, for the skirt, it's on a ball joint, so it can wiggle around. And the front skirt can move up on a separate connection. There we go. Back skirt, I think it's on a fixed pose, so you don't really have to move it. And splits, alright. Oh, sorry. Can do that one, or the legs can spread that wide, which is pretty cool. And it has I think it has a thigh, well, yeah, it doesn't have a thigh swivel, unfortunately, but it doesn't have to for this particular one. Well, it can, well, I guess, can you consider that as a thigh swivel? Well, it's really up to you. Anyway, so it can go that far, can kick that high, yeah, that high. And let's see, double jointed elbow, well, not elbow, knees, double jointed knees. And let's see, for the feet is on a ball joint, and that's pretty much it. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna connect all the accessories on here, and I'll give my final thoughts about this figure. So final thoughts on the figure. Well, I really like this because it was my favorite unit from the OVA. This and the Stark Dragon were my favorite units from the whole show, and I just really like how this guy took down a lot of units with his outdated mobile suit, which was really cool for me. And the way he died was just really manly, in my opinion. So if you're planning on getting this, make sure that you're a fan of the unit, because it's not really something that I'd recommend, because the Zaku sniper doesn't really have the best designs. Some collectors find the design ugly, which I can understand since he doesn't really have much going on. But in my opinion, I think he's really great. And what else? Aside from that, the paint job is actually good. Let me stop this. Let's see here. The paint. All right, so the paint job is actually nice, cause unlike most robot Damashii figures, this guy is actually painted. Unlike most robot Damashii figures, where it's just painted plastic, or colored plastic that they use. This one is actually painted. I had a hard time panel lining it, because if I, when I clean the panel or the lining here, there are some areas where I am rubbing off the paint, so I had to be extra careful on this. So this one is painted like the GFF figures. And speaking of GFF figures, this guy, I guess the downside of this figure is that it's a robot Damashii figure, but he doesn't look good with robot Damashii figures. Reason for this is, if you have xenography figures, they pretty much use the same mold to create this figure. Now, what I mean by that is that I'm gonna show you something here. Let me grab a robot Damashii figure, and I'm gonna compare it with the xenography figure as well. Give me 1 second. Okay, so here we have the robot Damashii figure. Now, what I mean by it doesn't look good with other robot Damashii figures is that, again, they use the same mold, so from the xenography figures, so it's really gonna look weird with Gundam figures. So we're gonna compare it with the robot Damashii Hexa Gundam, and just look at that. It's just weird, like the whole frame of this is just bulky when it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be at least close to the proportions of a regular Damashii figure. Now, the reason why I'm pretty sure they use the same mold, it's because let's set this aside. Well, not really set aside, let's just stay there, and I'm gonna bring you my xenography goof custom. Now here you can totally see how they resemble, or the parts that was used was really close to the xenography figure. So let's focus on, I'm gonna remove this, we're gonna focus the two here. So you can totally see, just by looking at the feet, you can see they're really the same. And as for the chest piece as well, they're both they're actually both how do you say this, just the overall proportions of the chest really is close to each other. Even the shoulder armor here, if we just remove the spikes, it's pretty much the same as the Zaku sniper, and they really look good together because they have the same proportions. Unlike if we compare to the puny, standard looking Damashii figure, it's like this guy isn't even from the robot Damashii figure. So that's what I meant by, this one looks good with GFF and xenography figures, but it doesn't really look well with your Damashii, regular Damashii figure. So yeah, this guy right now, as far as I know, it retails for 7,000 yen to 8,000 yen depending on the seller. Would I recommend it? Not really, unless you're a big fan of the unit, because it doesn't have much going on. The articulation is just fairly standard, though. It's actually better than the xenography figures, but I still like it. It's pretty decent. So this one's a keeper, and this was the very first figure that that got me into the line, and I'm really happy that I have this. So yeah, that's pretty much my whole opinion. I'm not really saying that all the things that I said in this video are the truth, but you know, if you agree with me, then that's great. But if you like what you watched, do subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next review.